Hello guys, so I was just in the shower thinking about Warlocks and then this idea for a build with Ranger and Fighter and how much burst it could do and how many attacks it would do on the first turn had me all excited, so I had to come down and make a video about it.
My research turned up a rather brilliant technique that seems quite actionable.
We'll start out as a Ranger. We get heavy armor proficiency right off the start, so that's very good. And we'll go with these stats over here. So we're going to prioritize dexterity or strength, up to you, and wisdom, so that your spellcasting ability doesn't suffer because your first 5 levels you're going to be using it a lot. Then at level 6, you start considering your Warlock's abilities a bit more. So I would respect and put some points into Charisma, since you might be using Eldritch Blast as an attack at this point. But alternatively, you could, and it's also wise to have more points in Dexterity or Strength, since you're going to be doing quite a lot of attacks even at this point. You're going to be doing about 6 attacks on the first turn if you're hasted. Then at level 8, already progressed with the build. Now you're going to be getting Pact of the Blade as a Warlock. What does this mean? So at level 8, you want to be respecting again, so that you can maximize, you can max your Charisma. You will also put one of your 2 ability score increases there. And this will allow you to use a good weapon, like a great weapon, for example, or a bow or a rapier, with your Charisma modifiers. So instead of getting plus 2 or plus 3, and your proficiency is going to get plus 5. So we are going to max out our Charisma, and then we'll continue and finish the build. So let's go step by step. Level 1, as a Ranger, you get some proficiencies. Level 2, you get your fighting style. I would consider going defense or great weapon master or archery, according to what your playstyle is. At level 3, you get your Gloomstalker abilities, and that's pretty good. At level 4, you're going to get an ability score increase. At level 5, you get your extra attack. At level 6, you get your first Warlock level, where you will get your Eldritch Blast. And I prefer Pact of the Fiend, since this is not going to be a very tanky class, and it's going to help a lot with that temporary HP. Also, it's going to give you Fireball down the line, and overall, I feel like it's a little bit stronger than getting the Mortal Reminder feature. At level 2 of Warlock, you get your Eldritch Invocations. I would get Devil's Sight and Agonizing Blast. At level 3, this is where the build starts to shine. This is the Pact of the Blade optimal fit. This is where you no longer care about your other statistics, since you're going to be maxed out on Charisma, and you're going to be using your Pact weapon, which is going to be your greatsword, the best weapon that you have, to be dealing damage. And your range damage will be from your Eldritch Blast, so you're not going to need a bow. Unless you want to go the bow build and do a lot of attacks with a sharpshooter, it's also possible. But in that case, you wouldn't have something to do in melee. So I would maybe recommend starting to look at some spells that do melee damage, if that's the case. If you ever have to run, or just get Misty Step. At level 9, you're going to get your ability score increase. This is where, if your Charisma is not max, you're going to max it, and then you're going to get either your Sharpshooter or Great Weapon Master. So it's 2 alternative options here. You have 2 ability score increases. One you will use to max your Charisma, and the other to get the damage feed. And then at level 5, you get another extra attack. So now your build has 3 extra attacks, even if the enemy is not surprised. However, if you surprise the enemy, you get 4 attacks per action on the first turn. So just like this, you have if you are hasted, you have 8 attacks per turn at this point on the first turn, and 6 attacks on subsequent turns. And then if you get 2 levels of fighter, you get an additional action surge, so you can actually do those 4 attacks again on the first turn. You could alternatively go paladin, and instead of getting a little bit more burst in the first turn, you get the ability to use some smites on your attacks. It's also a possibility, and it would be fun to play. It's really up to you. Alternatively, if you want to get a level in Wizard and get haste, so that you don't have to use potions, it also works. No judgment. So yeah, this is the build. But now let's go through the stats. Before I continue, we should note that this build, I'm considering Astarion for it, but you could alternatively go for a half orc. I do the math for both of them so that you can actually see. I do the math for both of them, and yeah, if your main character is a half orc or you have a companion half orc, you can also use it like a hireling half orc. So, what are the assumptions that we do? We assume that you have greater invisibility casted on you, that you are hasted, and that the enemy is held. We don't calculate all attacks hit. Yeah. So, greater invisibility will give you advantage on all attacks you make where the enemy can't see you. And that's really good for crit fishing. If the enemy is held, all your attacks automatically crit. However, yeah, it might be a bit of an overshoot, so I also have math for when it's not. So your regular attack, when it doesn't crit, it's going to be the same for both races. For both races, yeah, because Stan is a vampire. So it would do 37.5 on average and 34 on average for the Gloomstalker attack and 34 for the non-Gloomstalker attack. I know it sounds like a lot, but we're going to be using Hunter's Mark for that. And it adds up very well with casting Prepare. Well, don't cast Prepare. Prepare is a weapon ability that you can use with a Great Axe. That's why I'm making this build with a Great Axe and not Great Sword. I think the overall damage it gives is better than using a Great Sword. And then for the Gloomstalker attack, even though the Great Sword has higher average damage than a Great Axe, the prepared action makes the Great Axe better. It uses 20 feet of movement speed, just so you know. Then I've broken it down for the Astarion and the half-orc crit die. As you can see, the half-orc has an additional weapon die every time, which boosts its average for each attack landed more. However, Astarion can have the happy feat, and since we are doing great weapon attacks, we want that 5% more chance to hit. And if you have advantage, it's not just 5%, it's a little bit more. So this comes to the average Gloomstalker attack for Astarion to be 52, and for the half-orc 58.5, considering Hunter's Mark, Weapon Modifier, Great Weapon Master Prepare, your Strength Modifier, and the Weapon Die. That crits. For regular attacks, it's going to be 41 on crits for the Astarion and 47.5 for the half-orc. Then I do some calculation, and if all attacks land, and it's unlikely, but if all of them land, you're going to be doing 525 damage with Astarion and 603 with a half-orc on average. This is not maximum damage. The maximum damage about quite a lot more than that. I would say about 8 to 900 or 7 to 800. And then just doing some quick calculations about the chance to hit, because I've had some comments about that and you guys have been requesting it a little bit. So the bonuses to hit, you have 5 plus from your strength or potion or your charisma, depending on what time you're attacking, at what point you're attacking of the build. Then you have your proficiency bonus, which is going to be +4 at level 12. You have the bless, which gives an average of 2.5. I didn't consider the die into the calculations because it makes it a little bit more complicated, so I just took the average. And for Astarion, you also have happy, which gives you +1 on the spells to hit. Then from Great Weapon Master, you lose 5, and if your weapon is a +3, you get +3. So you get a total bonus of 10.5 if you are blessed and happy, or 9.5 if you are not happy. Then I do some calculations, the probability for one die, and then it's that squared to miss, since both of the die need to be lower than the set number to hit. So if you're attacking an enemy with 15 AC, you're going to be missing only 4% of the time with Astarion and 6.25% of the time with a half-orc. So the expected damage comes out about 500 for Astarion and 565 for the half-orc. I believe the bosses in the later run of the game, in the later stage of the game, will have a much higher armor class. So I can't really say for sure what that's going to be, but you can still expect to do a lot of damage. Even if you miss half your attacks, you're still going to be doing 260 damage. Additionally, your attacks could do even more. For example, I found a ring in Act 1 that gives you +2 acid damage on every attack. So that could be +24 damage. Alternatively, if you go Great Axe, if your Great Axe has just 1d6 extra fire damage, either from an enchantment or a poison or whatever, that would do 84 additional average damage per turn. So you can see the more additional modifiers you give with this build, it will do a lot more damage because it's 12 attacks. So it stacks up. That's it, guys. Let me know what you think about this build in the comments. I'm really excited to try it out, but I'm still level 6. So yeah, I'll see how this goes. See you guys.